I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to chat on something, a topic for me that is sometimes, this can sound strange, a non-topic, a non-issue. I believe as people in the insurance business, and many of us have been here for quite a while, and some of you are relatively new, I think we have been misled sometimes by these year-end competitions. You have to finish strong. And I've always been of the view that we should not finish strong, we should start strong and finish easy. But the industry sometimes gives all the rewards and so on towards the end of the year to make a push to encourage people to finish strong. Be that as it may, the formula is both simple as it is complex in terms of how do we go forward and how do we finish strong. And I'll tell you the important thing is, you can actually use the same thing to start strong. The steps of the process speaks to, sorry, let me go back one slide. Right. What do you do? And the key to, if you're sitting here on the 12th day of July, looking towards the end of the year, the key is to say, okay, what do I want to finish on and when do I want to finish? I tell people, if you're working past the 15th of December, you're not working smart. Because if we submit business at that time, there's an underwriting process. And depending on which company, depending on the complexity of the case and the type of case, it may or may not get issued. So my close-off date is generally the 15th of November. So you might even with a push, you go to the end of November. So let's say we start working with end of November as our cutoff date. The goal would be, what is my personal goal, not the company's minimum, because far too often people are pushing towards the company's minimum goal. And even if you achieve the company's minimum goal, you're still broke, right? Your personal goal is supposed to lead you towards that. So I set a goal that is, and we know the SMART acronym, I only have 10 minutes, so I can't go into it. It must be a specific, it must be measurable. So I must be able to say, where am I at relative to where I should be every single Friday afternoon. When I said I should have been at 50,000 API, I am at 40, I know I'm not there. Or I should have been at 30, but I'm 20, I know I'm not there. Or I'm at 40, so I have a little wiggle room inside of there, right? It must be realistic. If you haven't done 15% of your annual goal, it's going to be a little bit of a stretch to try to do the next 85% in the next 4 months. But it can be done. So be realistic in setting your goals and make sure that the goal is relevant to your personal situation. Too many people use the company's target as their target. That is what you call struggling. That is what they will say in Caribbean parlance, that's sufferation income. That's not what you want. You want it to be relevant to your particular needs. The second step in that process has to do with breaking these goals into milestones. So I will set these milestones, and I'll tell you what the important for milestones are also. So if I say it's 4 months, at the end of the 4 months, I should be 25 or more percent in settled business, not submitted, in settled for me to achieve my goal by the end of November. But what I use that as a milestone too, it's also a time of reflection. Am I on target? Am I off target? And if I'm on or off, how do I make the adjustment? But it's also a time of celebration. So if I actually make it, I might decide to, okay, take the next weekend, or maybe the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and go to Tobago, go to Barbados, do something to celebrate the fact that you have achieved the goal that you have set out to achieve. So that milestone is both a point of reflection, a point of measurement, and a point of celebration, or a point to say, hey, time to celebrate now because I have nothing to celebrate. I need to continue doing that which I have to do, right? Step number 3 talks about building momentum. And you see, the key to building momentum is consistency. Most of us fail in this business, not because we're not bright, not because we don't know what to do, is that we don't do it consistently. And as the saying says, the success is like a snowball. It takes momentum to build, and the more you roll in the right direction, the bigger it gets. But we work in spasms. We work today, we take a week off, we find time to sit down and Say the underwriting is not good, the manager is not good, the company is not good, the economy is not good, you know, the war in Ukraine. Listen, all these things are just lame excuses. We have got to do what we have to do. You see, until such time that the CEO of my company or my VP of sales were to take me to the bank and pay my mortgage or buy my groceries or pay my car installment, I'm not letting you get into my space. I will do what I have to do because I have a family to take care of. So some of the things to do to build momentum is to establish a morning regime. And one of the things I've heard at MDRT this year that's very powerful is they said, be selfish in the morning so that you can be selfless in the evening. In other words, the morning time is my time. The afternoon time is everybody else's time. And that afternoon can be after 4, can be after 5. You pick your time. But in the morning, I'm terribly selfish with my time. That's a way to build consistency. Create an evening schedule. You get home, you have dinner, you talk to your spouse, you play with the children, you play with the dog, you do whatever you do. But what you need to be doing just before you go to bed and say your prayers is you set everything for tomorrow and make sure everything is in place. Do I need to change my routine? What do I need to do? What habits do I need to form? What are the lessons learned in that day, right? And what you need to do is to keep the negative people and negative things out of your space. Misery loves company. If there's a particular person or persons in your life that only speaks negative things, you need to change your environment. You need to change your environment, right? And I'm not getting it in the family context. You need to know how to manage that. The reality is, we have got to protect ourselves from the noise of the world. There will always be distractions. The key question to ask is, how distractible are we? Right? There will always be distractions. That's just the world that we live in, okay? Step number 4 talks about finding a mentor. And remember what a mentor is. Sometimes people say, well, find a mentor, find an accountability partner, find a coach. Right? The mentor tends to take a more long-term perspective on career development. The accountability partners to say, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Let's talk about it. And this is where I'm at relative to where I should be. But then you could also find a coach, which has a more short-term function in dealing with a specific deficiency. Or maybe not necessarily a deficiency, a strength that I need to make stronger. Find a good coach. We look at people like Tiger Woods, we know of Serena Williams, we know of Novak Djokovic, we know of Brian Lara, we know of all the great, we know Chris Gayle and all these guys have a coach, or had a coach in their best times. But we go into the business for 1 year or 2 years and we become superstars. That is super foolish, right? We need to grow every single day. And the way to do that is to try every day to be a better version than we were yesterday. We're not going to move from A to Z overnight. It takes 20 years to become an overnight success. Keep that in mind. But you need to build step by step every single day. So be curious, ask questions. The key to learning is asking questions and then listening. Because most of what we learn, we're not learning, or we didn't learn from speaking, we learned when we were listening. Be curious, ask questions, be honest. And the key thing about that is to thy own self be true. If you know you're not doing what you're doing, then do it. But don't find a way of pointing your finger, because every time you point one, 4 points back at you. Punctuality. Very important. I tell my agents, if you come to my meeting 5 minutes late, you're too early for next week. Right? You can't call and tell me 5 minutes after the time that you're running late. I know that already. You weren't there when we started. It's a mark of respect. It's a mark of professionalism. And sometimes as Caribbean people, it's one of the things that we fall down on is that anything is anything. Anytime is anytime. No, anytime is not anytime. Because if anytime is anytime, you'll become successful sometime, not when you want it. Be specific and be respectful. I'm running along because I know I'm probably halfway there already. And number 5, engage in the self-awareness technique to finish strong. Get in touch with how you feel and how you think. You see, we are not judged by what we start. We are judged by what we finish. The key, my friends, is that, for example, men have a way of that. if they speak to something that is bothering them, it's a sign of weakness. That's why most men die of heart attacks than women, because they keep the stress in. Talk about it. Talk about the things that are bothering you. Because what I found is that it's not a lack of knowledge, of our business and what we need to do that keeps us from being successful. It's all the things that surround us, all the noise that we allow to enter into our space and our time and in our minds, and to linger and fester and become a disease. And I mean that not metaphorically, literally, that is what happens to us. So how do we finish strong? Is we need to be focused. What am I working towards? When do I want it done? What do I need to do? A guy is telling me today, I am not getting enough referrals. I said, how many people are you asking for referrals? Well, I have 1 or 2. So I said, well, then you should get 1 or 2 referrals. Why am I not talking to more people? Do my clients to whom I want to ask for referrals know what the kind of person that I want to be referred to looks like? Keep training yourself. I was glad to hear Marcel talk about the CLU and CHFC being available, because you see the problem we have, friends, is when we are faced with a challenge, we rise to the level of training that we have. So we say we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to the level of training. So when we get a challenge every day, it's because our training is incomplete. And I'm not saying the company's training, I'm saying the training that we expose ourselves to. I'm a student for life. I'm always doing something, not because you want to say I've done it, but because I want to use it, and you will then know that I have done it. Because what you speak to the heart, what you do speaks much louder than what you say. And people, if you show me, my friends, if you show me your calendar for the week, if you show me your weekly activity report, your Project 100, I will tell you what your profession is, If I look at a weekly activity and you have 4 appointments, but you have times dedicated to other things, I will know clearly your profession is not financial services, it's not sales. So my job for you, my recommendation to you to finish strong, and I think I just went over by a minute, my recommendation for you to finish strong is this. When you get by Friday afternoon, you make sure you have 10 or 15 appointments set for the next week so that you start the week employed. Anytime you do not have 10 or 15 appointments for next week, you're starting the week, the Monday, unemployed. That's my view. So I've been in the business for 40 years, 32 years of them there. And the reason for that is not because I'm smarter, better looking. Clearly that's evident. What it is I have a laser focus as to how I make money in this business. Laser focus. And I fill my week with those activities, and then the noise takes the rest. For many people, is we do everything else, and making money finds a space that is created. That is nonsense at a level you cannot believe. Know how you make money. Spend the time and focus on those activities, and then everything else will fall into place. It is as simple and as complex as that. But for me, as an old stager, I have done the same thing over and over and got better and better results because I got better and better at it. It's not magic. It's no mystery. It's about commitment and dedication to the task at hand. I thank you. I know I went over a minute and I apologize. God bless. And I hope every one of you finish strong. Thank you.